I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Peters Township Planning Commission for March 10th, 2022. Ed, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salepis will not be here. Mr. Mills will not be here. Mr. Magrino.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Wiley.
Here.
Rochelle Corbiel will not be here, and Ted Cartaphillis is not here.
Thank you. For the regular minutes of the February 10th, 2022 meeting, any comments, changes, modifications by the commissioners?
I don't see any.
Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept those minutes into the record.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any reports and correspondence, Ed?
No.
Any site plans or subdivisions filed for review?
We have three. We have the Wallach subdivision. That's a 3 or 4 lot subdivision on Oakhurst, single-family homes. We have the Camden Village. That is a townhouse project off of Quail Run Road. It's at the entrance to the Quail Run neighborhood. And we have Tuscany 2. It's a single-family development off of Just About Road next to the Tuscany plan of lots. We have 3 residential subdivisions.
Okay. Any modifications to the agenda?
No.
Seeing as there's no audience here, I don't believe there'll be any audience comments. No old business. Let's move on to new business. Item 8A, a Planning Commission recommendation, the Cox Consolidation Plan in Hemlock Drive.
Simple consolidation. This is Brian and Susan Cox, who live at 146 Hemlock Drive in the Stratford Manor neighborhood, are seeking township approval to consolidate their 2 lots that they own into 1 lot. The 1 lot will end up being 1.02 acres. It's in the LD, Low Density Residential District. The minimum lot size in that district is a ½ acre, so they meet that requirement. Very simple consolidation. Staff recommendation is to approve the plan, or get it on to council with the 2 conditions. Washington County Planning Commission review, which came in today, so I'm going to eliminate that condition, and just the 1 condition remaining would be PT Sanitary Authority approval.
Any commissioner questions? Just to clarify, the founding property owners, they were notified?
No, the surrounding properties on this one were not notified.
Okay. I just want to make sure if they were, that we didn't hear from any of them.
On a simple consolidation,
we don't notify?
No.
Okay. All right. No commissioner comments? No audience comments? Can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend the Cox Consolidation Plan with the 1 recommendation from the planning staff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8B, new business. The Planning Commission recommendation on the Granny Lot Consolidation Plan number 1 on Diamond Drive.
Keystone Surveying and Mapping on behalf of Jamison Graney, who currently has these 2 lots under agreement from Lou Rosito, is requesting township approval for a consolidation plan to consolidate 204 and 206 Diamond Drive into a single 1.479 acre parcel of land. Both of these lots were originally created as part of the Starwood Plan recorded in 2001, were subsequently revised as part of the Phase 1R Starwood Plan recorded in 2007, and now they're just being consolidated as part of a new proposed subdivision plan. This lot would maintain compliance with all the township zoning ordinance regulations for the low-density residential district. They are moving a sanitary sewer line as part of the new home construction on this lot. This would be the new location of that sanitary sewer line. He's working through the approvals with the Peters Township Sanitary Authority. He has to sign a developer's agreement. They're fully aware of what's going on, so there's coordination happening there. They don't seem to have any issues. They just need to get that agreement finalized with Mr. Graney. Staff is making a recommendation that the Granny Lot Consolidation Plan Number 1 be approved, subject to the 6 conditions in my staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any commissioner questions?
The only question I have would be the Peters Township Sanitary Authority approval.
Yeah.
Are you noting that that is for the relocation? Because technically it would not, the relocation wouldn't be needed for the consolidation, correct? It has service.
It's not necessary, right?
Right.
I think what I was just trying to highlight there is that there was an outstanding letter from March 1 that they needed to address. I feel like those issues have already been taken care of. Now they just have to formalize their developer's agreement with the sanitary authority.
Understood.
There's a place on that plan where they sign the plan before it can be recorded. They will not sign it until that agreement's in place for the relocation of the sewer.
Not knowing the expense, my only comment was if by some chance that sewer line relocation did not happen, it just may change the overall anticipated location of a future building, but it wouldn't
It certainly
necessarily be
would.
required from a planning perspective. They can still combine them and move forward.
I think his intention is to do like a ranch-style home, and with that easement being right here in the middle of the lot, it really precludes him
Sure.
from doing that right now.
Right on. Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
Yes. All right, I have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Granny Lot Consolidation Plan Number 1 in accordance with the staff memo of March 2nd, 2002, and those 6 recommendations and conditions, I should say, noted within.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 8C, the Planning Commission recommendation, mixed-use activity center and off-street parking and loading zoning ordinance amendments.
So earlier this year, we saw a conceptual multifamily project here at Planning Commission for some 250-plus units near the intersection of Water Dam and Galley. That conceptual plan ultimately went to council because part of that would require some zoning ordinance amendments. And I don't want the Planning Commission to think that, these proposed amendments that staff is presenting to you tonight are purely driven by that project. While they have brought those to our attention, we do think they're prudent measures otherwise. We would be recommending that these amendments be made regardless as to whether or not NIR continues to develop or move forward on this project. So I just wanted to try to make that as clear as I could. There's 3 ordinance amendments proposed tonight, and on screen is a map, and I've highlighted the mixed-use activity districts in the dark purple. The first ordinance amendment, which refers to the removal of the maximum number of units per structure of 36 units, only applies to the MA1 subdistrict, which is circled here in purple. And really the only truly developable portion of land in that subdistrict is the parcel of land that NIR is looking to develop on here at the intersection of Water Dam and Galley. The rest of the dark purple on the map is the MA2 subdistrict. Now, the second of the 2 ordinance amendments that I'm proposing is reducing the maximum floor area ratio from 1 to 0.85. That would apply to every property in the mixed-use district, so both Subdistrict 1 and Subdistrict 2. That was a change we recognized in reducing or allowing for more units per structure, effectively eliminating that maximum restriction for MA1. There was concerns from the council level that maybe we could have a development that's too substantial for the property. And so similarly, what we did with the town center last year in response to the Waters development is we dropped FAR from 1 to 0.85. It was the same thing we did in response to that development, just bringing things in line with what we see here in the town center. But again, that would apply to the entire mixed-use activity center district. The third ordinance amendment is eliminating a requirement from our off-street parking and loading section that would require at least 50% of all parking spaces within a multifamily development to be enclosed on 3 sides and roofed. This would apply township-wide every zoning district. Every zoning district that allows for multifamily as a permitted use, this would apply to that. So it's not just MA. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission members have. As we've talked in the past, I think staff recognizes that these changes, especially the elimination of the maximum number of units per structure, kind of are more in line with what we would typically see from Class A high-end multifamily development. And that's the direction that the market is trending today. That's the development pattern that we're seeing across the country, and I think this is a measure that keeps us in step with that. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
So there wouldn't be any maximum at all?
There would be no maximum in terms of the number of units per structure. Now, there still would be a 0.85 FAR. There are minimum parking requirements. There are setbacks. There are buffers. So there's other measures in place to kind of curtail a structure for being overly cumbersome on any lot.
And not to bring up Outlier again, but how many units were they,
We saw 253 units, I think.
and how many in one?
It was
How many were in structure?
two total structures. One was, they were roughly the same in size. I think one was slightly larger, so maybe a little bit more than an even split, maybe like 130 in one and 120 in the other, something along those lines.
Those are 4-story, if I recall.
They were conceptually showing 4-story, which in the mixed-use activity district, that is a conditional use. So there are other requirements they have to maintain to pursue that approval.
The 4-story ground park is one of the more efficient unit types. You got one elevator,
Yeah.
two. It's kind of one of the more efficient multifamily. So I mean, it's on par
Yeah.
with what.
Yeah,
we see through.
and I think when you exceed 4-story, you're getting out of stick-built construction, and
You get
there's a lot more
typo-
construction
typology
costs. Yeah,
increases,
there's a
It's
big
not
change
wood
there.
framed.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I appreciate that you all have we've continued this discussion of refining these since we redid the zoning ordinance. To your point, Seth, we've talked about that as we've seen developments come in. We've done this over time. I think it's something we have to continue to do as these things come before us and are brought to our attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a very significant rezoning in 2017, and we've not seen a project of this scale since then, and so it brings to light things that we need to potentially address.
And in 2017, when we were going through those zoning amendments, I think I made it clear, and we can go back into the minutes, both when it was at planning commission level and council, I explained that we anticipate as we begin to apply these new zoning rules to developments, we're going to need to make amendments. And, a zoning ordinance is only effective if it evolves and changes with what's going on out there in the development world. And that's simply all that we're doing here.
Right.
And Seth, on the new number 3, the front yard buffer area shall be a minimum of 25 feet. What's the difference between a front yard buffer and a minimum lot frontage building line? Is that the same thing, just worded differently?
Well, we're not making any changes there. I just grabbed that from the table.
Oh, okay.
But just to give it a little bit of context on the change we're actually making.
Because it's already a minimum up at
So
the top.
basically, those two rules are basically saying the same thing, is
Yeah.
that no structures can be built within that first 25 feet from the right-of-way in. Right? It's a setback, is 25 foot the setback in the MA1?
All the way around,
Yeah, I don't have that
all the
dimensional
way
table
around?
directly.
Front sides as well?
Only fronts does that buffer come into play.
So,
Oh, you're talking about under off-street parking and loading.
yeah.
Oh, this is simply, so we try to keep as much parking as we can, not between the right-of-way and the face of the building. Push it behind, to the side, front the buildings up against the right-of-way. We understand that sometimes that can be necessary. So if they're going to do that, if the buffer is any less, if the front setback for some reason is any less than 25%, but you're going to put parking there, then it pushes you back 25%, because there are
25 feet.
25 feet, yeah, 25 feet, because there are requirements elsewhere in the ordinance for landscaping and those types of things that would have to be within that 25-foot buffer. It gives you space to accommodate for that.
Any questions?
Just real quickly, if Planning Commission moves this on to council, council will set a public hearing and,
Once we set the public hearing date, we notify, it gets put in the paper, there's advertisement requirements, and this is just the first of many steps.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the change to number 3, is that partially because we want to discourage underground parking or parking structures or something like that?
I don't think it's meant to discourage underground parking. I don't think we would ever want to be in a position where we're discouraging underground parking. A developer wants to spend that cost, that's a great thing because it gets cars out of the view. I think what it's trying to avoid is when you have parking structures that are maybe single story, they're enclosed on 3 sides, they're not usually well maintained in the long run, they don't look great, and after even a short period of time, and we just simply don't recognize that that's something we want to see all the time. Now, if somebody wants to do either underground or structured parking, I think that's a different story, and those can potentially look better in the long term.
Yep. And I have a place near me which exemplifies exactly what you're talking about. So it's much better to be open than it is to be 3 sides closed. It turns
Correct.
into a storage unit. Well, I think they make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no comments or objections.
All right. We have a motion to recommend.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the mixed-use activity in off-street parking and loading ordinance amendments as shown in the memo and attached draft memo dated March 1st, 2022, and I don't believe there's a date on the ordinance yet. The subsequent attached ordinance.
Yeah, I'll update dates and everything after we
Sure.
move forward with the process.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the planning portion. Any miscellaneous issues, Ed, you want to discuss?
I don't have any unless you have any.
Any issues, Billy? All right. Meeting adjourned.